What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you had a good 4th of July weekend. It has been a volatile one. We saw Bitcoin up and down, just crazy range throughout this last couple of days. Now in this video, I'm going to go over Mt. Gox's repayments. We're going to talk about Bitcoin on the chart. We're going to talk about the top performing Bitcoin miner today as of this upload at least, and we'll see what else we can dig up. Now if you guys get something useful out of this, make sure you like, subscribing, the notification bell. I apologize in advance for any noise in the background. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your weekend. Now let's get started. Now first off, I want to talk about Bitcoin's price. What's it been doing lately? Well, on the 4th of July, we absolutely tanked. A lot of panic, a lot of fear out there. It's almost like the world wanted to just throw a big middle finger to America on America's day. Soon after, it somewhat recovered, but now we're basically back to 55,000. What I expect from Bitcoin is for us to follow this descending channel here until we either break out to the upside or to the downside. We have an important range, a very short-lived range we were in, from roughly 50,000 to 55,000. This was back in February of 2024, shortly after the spot Bitcoin ETFs were approved. I'm speculating that that will hold us as support, that we will kind of follow this pattern here before we break out of this descending resistance, but it'll be a matter of watching for that breakout. One thing you'll notice here is a bullish RSI divergence. We have the RSI rising, creating higher lows, and we have the price creating lower lows. Now, where the moving averages are concerned, we are now under the 200 MA. We have not been under the 200 MA with Bitcoin for quite a long time. When I say that, I mean months and months and months. The positive here is the 200 MA is still pointing up, although we are under it. The 50 MA is now curling down. A lot of people are saying Bitcoin topped out. This is over. You'll see this double top. You'll see all this Mt. Gox selling. Bitcoin will never recover. I want to show you some Bitcoin halving events if you've never lived through any previous ones. The 2020 halving is a bit skewed. Hopefully you guys know why. We got out of a huge pandemic, and before the halving we did drop 65%. I do personally suspect if it wasn't for that, we would have saw somewhat of a major correction, a 30, maybe 35% correction, but we didn't see that cycle, the 2020 cycle. We did see 20% corrections, however, shortly after the halving. What about the 2016 halving? We saw roughly a 25-27% drop, a very quick flash crash. Now keep in mind, we're looking at the daily here. Every single candle here is one day. This isn't just a short period of time here. In the 2016 halving, to get back to the levels we were at the halving or before the halving, we had to wait months and months. We had to wait until November, October to finally start breaking out, finally start seeing levels that Bitcoin has never seen before. If we follow the 2016 halving, which would make more sense than a 2020 because it was skewed by COVID, I do see us breaking out of this pattern within the next few months. And I can guarantee you, back in 2016, people were saying the same thing. After the halving came, people said, what is there to look forward to? The halving already hit, the hype is over. This was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. We're tanking now, guys. It's time to sell. The cycle is broken. What did Bitcoin go on to do when it finally broke out of its range? When it finally broke out of that resistance from before the halving? It went on a parabolic run. You can't even see the rips and dips when you zoom out like this. What about the 2012 halving? Zoom it in, otherwise it looks like it's just totally flat, and that is not the case. What did we see in 2012? It was stuck in a range. Bitcoin did not break out of its previous price from before the halving until a few months later. The halving in 2012 was November 28, and it took until roughly January of 2023, so it took 2 months or so. But it was stuck here as a resistance for quite a while. If you didn't have the patience, if you didn't want to hold, you missed out on the huge run. The run that has come after every halving. I just don't see it not repeating. I just don't see the 4-year cycle not playing out, considering this time around we have institutional awareness. Institutions are getting in. Spot Bitcoin ETFs are approved. Something crazy like 55% of hedge funds have some exposure to Bitcoin. This is not going to change. You're going to tell me that Bitcoin topped out. You're going to tell me that Bitcoin's RSI is not going higher. This is going to be the most overbought it's going to get. Much less overbought than any of the previous cycles, much less euphoria this time around. To me, I just don't see it. I don't see the possibility of this cycle, us topping out already when we just had the halving only a few months ago. This would be a first for Bitcoin. I personally do expect the 4-year cycle to play out. I personally do expect we're going to top out in 2025. That's when our RSI gets to the levels we've seen every halving. I think there is no way in hell that on a cycle where institutions are so heavy, are getting so involved, where companies are accumulating, where there's no fear of government trying to ban crypto, crypto is now in. Crypto is part of Wall Street now. There's no way you can tell me that Bitcoin has topped out here. This would be the weakest Bitcoin cycle in history, and in a cycle where the big money's getting in, I'm sorry, I just don't see that. I also want to talk about this Mt. Gox stuff going on. So the main reason I wanted to show you this article, I want to show you that $2.7 billion worth of Bitcoin has been sent to Bitbank and SBI VC Trade, and there's $5.4 billion worth left. Before you know it, over half of the Bitcoin will already be dispersed. Within a few months, all of the Bitcoin will be dispersed, and then what negative thing do we have to look forward to and worry about? Once the Mt. Gox selling and the fear surrounding that has subsided, once the worry of Germany selling their Bitcoin, a US selling their Bitcoin has subsided, I do think the market will wake up again and realize that Bitcoin is going to do what it always has done. Bitcoin is going to follow its 4-year cycle. Bitcoin reserves haven't been this low since 2021. There are currently under 3 million Bitcoin left on exchanges. 3 million. And of that 3 million, not all 3 million are willing to sell. This is just what's left on exchanges. What's not locked up in a cold wallet. Low exchange reserves, sometimes called exchange balance, indicate low selling pressure and potential supply shock due to the relatively low supply available for purchase. And I'll show you guys what happened on July 5th. The market was open and we did see inflows, net inflows from the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Despite all this fear on the 4th of July, there was still net inflows into these spot Bitcoin ETFs. We saw 143 million net inflows. The only one with an outflow, big surprise, was GBTC. The outlook for Bitcoin has never been stronger. For many who don't yet have exposure, this week is a chance to buy the dip, as said by the CEO of Bitwise, Hunter Horsley. Alright, now changing pace for a second here. I want to talk about BitDigital. This is the best performing miner as of currently, and we did recently see a golden cross here. The market must have seen it too, and the market's adding to the hype a little bit. Some people might be pointing out, hey, the RSI is getting a little overbought. I would be careful. And while that may be true, every single time in the past we have ran in this bull run, we have seen a more overbought RSI than here. It does not top out here. It keeps running a little further. I would speculate that we will probably see somewhere around 450 from BitDigital by the end of July. I'm personally not hoping we see above 450 as I have some covered calls that are expiring late July, but I could definitely see BitDigital doing something like getting to 450, maybe even working its way towards $5 as long as Bitcoin allows it. But be cautious because last time we did see a golden cross, this also marked the top, funny enough. Remember, this is a lagging indicator. Usually it's an indication of a longer trend. However, once this flashed, the market tanked to BitDigital. It definitely got overextended and profit taking took over. Now, what do I see BitDigital doing? For now, I see it continuing to follow its ascending support, this yellow line here, this yellow ascending line. We recently got out of this descending wedge. We were stuck in it for quite a while, continued to find it as resistance until we got that breakout, and the market did react to it, a huge positive reaction, and we ended up riding this new support as well, support. And I do expect this to continue. We might come down, revert kind of to the mean, come back towards this ascending support and test it, hopefully continuing to bounce it and continuing to break into higher highs. Alright, now we also have one thing coming up to look out for. We have CPI coming, and the market's already suspecting that the Fed is going to cut rates in the next meeting. This is going to have to come in favorably. This is going to have to come in at the forecast. If it comes in surprisingly high, the market will worry that we won't see a rate cut in the next meeting. If we can come in under 3%, I think that would be huge. Just the fact of seeing the twos for the first time would be amazing. That would be a huge game changer. The market would be very excited for that. What I see us doing is coming in at 3% or 3.1%. That's just my speculation. And I mainly think we're going to see CPI come in a little lower because we've been seeing that with PPI as well. This is the producer price index, so this is kind of from a warehouse level. And their previous read, they had forecasted at a 2.5%. However, they had a 2.2% read. It did come in under expectations, which is seen as a positive by the market right now. Our upcoming read, one day after CPI comes out, is going to be July 12th for PPI. They are expecting a 2.2%. If you'll notice, this is right around the Fed's target of 2%. It has actually come in well under 2% a few times back in the previous year. But CPI, PPI will be important to watch. It'll give us an indication of the potential for Fed cuts. If we get some surprise readings to the downside, I do think we will see a cut in September. Unemployment data has been coming in more and more unfavorable, and it seems like we are going to have to land soon. We are going to have to attempt this soft landing. This entails us cutting rates so that the economy does not crash. Will we have a hard landing, a soft landing, a no landing? That remains to be seen. Now that they've changed the meaning for a recession, I guess we're never going to have one. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Hopefully it wasn't too crazy for you with all this volatility. Sorry again for any background noise. Let me know any miners on your watch list. What are you laser focused on recently? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Always love to hear from you guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.